Hi, I'm Cody Anderson, one of the pastors here at Parker United Methodist Church. I come to you today from the back of our sanctuary, a view that all of you see as you come in through our doors, this space that is so beautiful, and in the summer, it's often empty. It's empty because people are busy. People are busy going and traveling to visit other people, to go on vacations. They're busy trying to do that yard work outside before the temperatures get hot. And so morning worship just gets put on the back burner. They're busy going and enjoying the beautiful outdoors and having picnics with their families and doing things outside of the building. And so an empty sanctuary in the summer, or at least a less full sanctuary in the summer, is pretty common. Pretty common for most churches around our nation. Have you noticed that our sanctuary has been a little less full? Now, there is something beautiful about an empty sanctuary. I come in here during the week and it is empty. It's quiet, and I'm able to sit and I'm able to pray. I'm able to just be with God and allow God to speak into my life in ways that maybe I can't hear when there is so much noise and so much hustle and bustle. But there's also a sadness that's found in an empty sanctuary, right? It feels like it's not quite the way it's supposed to be, because when there's people here, it feels energetic and you can feel the love. And when it's empty, you have to search for it. Reminds me of my own life. My own life in those times where I feel empty, where all there are these thoughts inside of my head and just emptiness. Like there's nothing left to give, or I wonder where God is, if God's even inside of me or God is around me. Have you ever felt those empty times in your life too? I find that those empty times, those times in empty sanctuaries, empty times in my life, are times of God's grace that abounds. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have to search for it, right? But I find that it allows space for God to enter in. It allows moments of God's love to be overwhelmingly present with me, where I'm not being distracted by all of the outside world. I'm able to be filled with the love and grace of God and maybe even be able to notice it. So this summer, we're doing a series called Picnics with Jesus. And this last Sunday was our first Sunday. We talked about the scripture where Jesus performs his first miracle of turning water at a wedding into wine. And not just like any wine, not like old wine or cheap wine. It is the best wine. And I've been thinking about this because Jesus is there at this wedding where they run out of wine. And all of a sudden, water is turned into wine. And I wonder how many people even noticed that miracle. How many people even noticed that Jesus was there in their midst, that the Son of God was there meeting their needs. You see, everybody was so busy with the wedding and the fun and also that need to be able to be present with all of the people that they missed out on the miracle that was right before them. These barrels of water that were empty of wine, right? They were full of water but empty of wine, are then turned into wine. Jesus showing up in a way that everybody else had no idea what happened. Most people thought that they just brought out the best wine for the end, and they missed out on the real miracle. Makes me think about what miracles we might be missing out on. What are the things that God is doing around us that we are oblivious to because we're so into all of the things that are going on around us? right? We're meeting with friends, we're going out to parties, we're going to baseball games, we're meeting with people, and we forget to notice, to take a moment and pause and see the way that God is already present around us. The miracles that God might be doing in our midst that go unnoticed. So on Sunday, Pastor Laura talked about Kate Bowler, and you've heard me talk about some of her books before, but this is that devotional book that she was talking about that we use a lot in staff meetings. It's called Have a Beautiful, Terrible Day, right? It's such an appropriate topic because life happens. We can have horrible, terrible days, and yet there still can be beauty within that. We can have the hardest things that we're facing, and we can still see glimpses of God's grace, God's love that is around us. And so I was looking through this devotion today, and again, she has so many great devotions, but she has this one called Seeing God Everywhere. And she talks about how she was asked to write this article for the New York Times about the nature of hope. And so she thought she was going to be able to write this great piece that would just bring forth so much optimism in the world. And yet, when she was asking what other kinds of stories would be placed around her article, it was about the bees that were dying out and about women who were having their rights taken away in India and not being able to have a promising future. And so she thought about, well, what kind of article am I writing where I'm giving people this narrative of false hope, but you have bees dying and you have women's rights being violated and taken away, and there's war and there's terror and there's so many things that are going on. How can we look for hope? How can we even think about hope in a world like that? And so she writes this poem, a benediction, if you will. It says, "This world feels solid through and through. Nothing is more obvious than who's in and who's out. The numbers at the bottom of these credit card bills and the worry lines around our eyes and mouths. Just ask anyone. Nothing is happening except headlines and a new season on Netflix and the rumblings of war near and far." And then we squint. There you are, shimmering at the edges of some extravagant act of love. There you are, quickening our steps toward your surprising favorites. The weak and poor and scared, the last becoming first, those who can't squeeze through the eye of the needle. There you are, calling us strong when we are weak, telling us to link arms with those who suffer, explaining how justice will invert the order of things. The world feels solid through and through, God. Help me squint and see you better. I love that thought of having to squint to see God better. Life happens. We get busy, things feel out of control. Sometimes we feel empty and we wonder if there's enough grace to fill us back up. And not just to fill us back up with something that might hold us together, but fill us up with the best things. Sometimes we're so focused on all of the things that are going around us that we forget to squint and to look and to see the way that God is present with us. God's miracles are happening around us, how God's grace abounds. Not just comes in a little way, doesn't provide a glass of wine, but fills up barrels full. And so that we are blessed, but also so that others around us are blessed. So my challenge for you is, in the midst of this busy season, in the places that might feel empty or the places that might feel too full, Squint. See where you can see God at work. Don't miss out on the miracles that are happening around you. And be filled up by God's grace and love that is more than we could ever possibly ask for or imagine. And let that love go out into the world so that others who are squinting, who are desperate to see love and hope at work, might be able to get a glimpse of Jesus at work in our world.